Hello everybody and welcome to the monthly stats video for September. It's a bit late. I've been having a few problems getting my bill through from Octopus, and to be fair, it's not really their fault. It's happened a few times, but what it is they when they go to generate my bill, they find there's a few of the half-hourly readings are missing, and so they have to action some process to try and recover them. And it's because my smart meter is an old Smets 1 smart meter. It was fitted by my previous electricity company before I moved to Octopus. Although it does do obviously half-hourly readings and stuff, it's not super reliable, and also the gas meter that goes with it doesn't seem to work properly with Octopus. So I get no gas data on their website. I just get a bill which is correct for the amount of gas I've used, but I can't see any sort of half-hourly usage data on their website, and they've got no idea when that would ever become available. So I said to them, like, you know, it's important that I get my bill on time because I make a video about it, and so they have actioned to get my old Smets meter replaced with a brand new one of their ones, and my gas meter too. So they're coming out on Thursday this week to do that, and hopefully after that I should get my bills on time, and I should be able to get my video out fairly promptly when the month ends. But yeah, that's the reason why this one has been a bit late, and I think there was another one I did a few months back where it was quite late as well for the same reason. But yeah, so they'll be coming out to do that on Thursday, and then hopefully that'll all be okay. So this month, yeah, is the first month where I have been on the Intelligent Octopus for the entire month. I have updated some of my pie charts and my graphs and things to reflect the differences in the fact that you can get cheap rate electricity now sometimes during peak times. Depending on you know, when you try and charge, and whether they want to switch it on during peak times and things like that. So I've updated my pie charts and things on that, so some of them might look a little bit different, but yeah, we'll have a look when we get into them. So without further ado, let's have a look at the stats. So we generated a total of 778 kilowatt hours in September, which was about 110 kilowatt hours or so less than the month before, but that's to be expected now. So we imported 369 kilowatt hours, and that'll be mostly for charging the cars. And we exported just 37 kilowatt hours, which is pretty good. So in total, we used 1,110 kilowatt hours in September. If we didn't have solar panels and a battery, that would have cost £425 and 87 pence. But having the solar panels has saved us about £288. And that's obviously just the cost of the electricity that we generated for free if we'd have had to pay for it. So having a battery system and being on Octopus Go, or Intelligent Octopus as it is now, has saved us £97 and 46 pence or thereabouts. And yeah, that's just from where we are charging the cars using the cheaper rate. The FIT export payments for the month earned us £99.25, and so the total cost to us for the 1,110 kilowatt hours was £51.02. That's how much my Octopus bill was. £14.39 of that was the standing charge, which is up a little bit because now I'm on Intelligent Octopus, it's a little bit higher. So our average price per kilowatt hour in September was just 3.3p, which again is fantastic. That's super cheap. So as I said, our electricity bill was £51.02. Our FIT feed-in payment for the month comes in at £99.25. So our energy cost for September was £0, and in fact we made £48.23 as an excess. So now let's have a look at the pie charts as we always do, and you can see that for September we actually only exported 4.7% of all the power that we generated, which is really good. Normally, if I can hit 5%, I'm super happy. So 4.7 is really good, and that means that 95%, or just over 95% of all the power that we generated, we managed to keep and use, which is great. And if we compare that to August, you can see it's a big improvement on the amount that we exported. It was quite high in August and the month before that as well. But I did finally fix some problems in my software that were causing a few little things to switch when it wasn't optimal to do so. And I think that's partially responsible for that getting back down to about 5%, which is where I wanted it to be. So it's definitely worth investing the time in getting to the bottom of those bugs and fixing them. Let's have a look at the pie chart for the source of all our generated power. And you can see that the Solax or Solar X inverter, the biggest one, is providing 57% of nearly 58% of all of the power that we produce, and the MPP solar, which is the one in the shed, which is an off-grid inverter, that produced 61 kilowatt hours, which is almost 8% of the total. The wall-mounted solar panels, which is the yellow box, that makes up about 21% of the total, and the 1 kilowatt inverter on the roof is almost 13.5% of the total. Yeah, and if we look at that compared to the month before, you can see that the wall-mounted panels, the yellow chunk, is a bigger proportion of the total now. And like I say, that's just because they're vertical and the sun's getting lower, so it's striking them at a better angle and not striking the roof ones at such an optimal angle. So now let us have a look at the pie chart that shows of all the energy we used, where it came from, which is a sort of energy mix, if you like. And this is one of the pie charts that I've updated to a new style. So now, before we used to just have free, off-peak and peak, and now we've got free, off-peak, peak, and then cheap peak, which is, as I was saying earlier, if you're on Intelligent Octopus and you set your car to charge, they might potentially start it charging when they feel like it. So it could start charging during peak rate time, but they'll only then charge you the off-peak price. And so if you're using anything else at that time, you also get that at the off-peak price. So I'm hoping to be able to take advantage of that occasionally in the winter months. So yeah, I've updated this pie chart to sort of reflect that, and you can see that already I have got a small amount, 95 kilowatt hours in September, that I managed to get cheap rate during peak time. And that's mostly because I was deliberately trying to do it in order to test my software worked. So I haven't been doing it much lately this month in October, because I haven't needed to so far. We're still getting, you know, good enough generation from the solar panels that I don't really need to start trying to resort to doing things like that. But in the months to come, I might have to. But yeah, so because I was deliberately trying to do it to test the software, I managed to get it to do it a few times, and that accounts for this 95 kilowatt hours of cheap peak, as I call it, usage. And then the rest was, yeah, cheap off-peak and free. And we only used 42 kilowatt hours of expensive. And some of that also was down to me trying to test my software and making sure that the price reflected whether or not the car was actually charging and stuff. So that usage would probably have been less had I not been doing my testing, but it'd be interesting to see if that's any different in October. But yeah, so overall, only not even 4% of the total was expensive, so that's pretty good too. And if we compare that to August, you can see that it's still, in terms of the generated, it's still broadly similar. But between the cheap off-peak and the cheap peak, the cheap rate bits account for more than they did in the previous month. So that's pretty good. Our best day was on the 4th of September, and on that day we generated 44.5 kilowatt hours. And here is the graph for that day. You can see that was an absolutely perfect blue sky day. Not even a single cloud on that day. It's just absolutely the best you could hope for. Our worst day was the 20th of September, and on that day we generated just 5.8 kilowatt hours. So massive difference between the best and the worst day. And there's the graph for the day, and you can see it's again, it's not terrible. It's like a kilowatt almost for a good part of the day, and then it drops down to maybe sort of 500 watts for the rest of the day. But a little peak there at over 4 kilowatts for just a few moments, but it dies off quickly. Now let's have a look at our energy usage, our imports, broken down into half-hourly segments. And I've changed this graph as well, or this bar chart, slightly, so that when I'm using cheap rate, it will be it'll appear as red bars, and when I'm using expensive electricity, it will appear as blue bars. And I've done this because obviously if I start getting some cheap rate during peak times, it needs to show up as different from when I'm using peak rate electricity in peak times, if you see what I mean. So it'll be obvious when you see the graph. So let's have a look. So here you can see, using lots of off-peak. Some days here where we are not pulling anything from the grid. We had quite a lot of sunny days early in September, so we did pretty well there. There's a few bits there where I pulled from peak rate. That was while I was trying to do some testing, so hopefully we won't see any of those again. But for the most part, you can see it's always appearing red. It's all cheap rate, and like I say, we'll see how we get on in October. So for September, we had a total of 15 off-grid days, and 6 days consecutive. That was near the beginning of September when we had quite a lot of sunshine. So when we add that onto the year to date, that means we're now up to 121 days of off-grid days where we didn't pull anything from the grid. And the longest streak of consecutive off-grid days is still 25, which was back in the middle of the year somewhere. We're not going to break that now because the days just aren't long enough. So that will probably almost certainly be the peak, 25 days consecutive. That's almost a full month of being off-grid. That's not bad. Okay, so that's the stats for September. Like I said, there was a lot of testing going on with my software, so I expect the results next month to be a bit more normal, let's say. But despite the fact that I did some testing and I pulled some stuff in at peak times when I didn't really need to, the bill for this month is actually about £2 cheaper than last month, which is pretty good. And this is what I was thinking. I think I mentioned it in the last video that even though the standing charge is higher for Intelligent Octopus, because the daytime rate is cheaper than it was under Octopus Go, and because I always seem to use a small amount every day off from the grid, that it would sort of cancel out with that higher standing charge, and that certainly seems to be reflected in the results. Like I say, my bill is actually slightly lower for this month, and I would hope that will be the same in October as well. So as far as Octopus, Intelligent Octopus goes, it's working good for me so far. Having 6 hours of off-peak means I don't have to try and jam everything into the 4 hours when I used to get cheap rate. I can spread things out a little bit more now, and that's really going to make a difference. Now we're getting more into the darker days. I've already had to charge both the cars some nights, and just having 6 hours to do it over, it means I can spread it out a bit, so they're not all pulling at the same time, and sort of getting me up to sort of 75 amps, 80 amps of draw through my my incoming supply, which is it's quite a high load, so it's better to sort of even it out over the 6 hours rather than trying to cram it all into 4. So yeah, that's working good. I had a few problems with my software at first, where it wasn't starting up properly, and then it wasn't activating properly when Octopus started sending the commands to charge the car, and in a few cases there was some stuff where it wasn't deactivating properly and effectively keeping my batteries switched off when they should have been back on, and so it was resulting in us pulling from the grid when we shouldn't have been. But I think I've managed to resolve all of those now, so the last sort of week or so it's been working pretty much flawlessly, so I think I've got to the bottom of most of the bugs. I've still got a small issue that if I happen to plug in the car sort of quite late, and then Octopus generates a charging plan, and they effectively want to switch it on straight away, my software won't have had time to actually download that charging plan and get everything ready and set for them to start telling the car to charge. So they send a message almost straight away to tell the car start charging straight away, but it's not ready, and so I get a failed charge thing comes through from Octopus, and I'm not sure how I can really speed that up. I mean, really, it'd be nice if when Octopus generate a charging profile, that they it's always at least 5 minutes out before it starts, you know, because that just gives my system enough time to read the charging profile and to get things set ready for that incoming command that says start charging. So but I don't think they're going to do that, so I'll have to try and figure out another way to resolve that problem, but it happens rarely. It's just once or twice that has been the case, but for the most part it usually doesn't, you know, it's usually charging at some point later in the evening and through the night, so there's plenty of time for the software to get everything ready, because it's obviously, I don't want the batteries on when they're going to try and charge the car, because otherwise it'll just drain my house batteries into the car, and that's not what we want. So my software has to automatically switch off all the batteries and stuff, so that they stay as they are while the car charges, and then once the car's finished charging, it switches them all back on again, so that they take over the loads in the house again. And like I say, it works for the most part flawlessly now, but just these odd situations where they want to start charging it straight away, it just doesn't have the time to get everything ready. But yes, okay, that's it for this month then. Apologies for it being quite late, but like I say, it was just down to my old meter and the fact that Octopus have problems getting data off it. But they're coming out Thursday, so hopefully from this month onwards, we should have better data, and I should also have gas data, which we've only just put the heating on a few days ago, the gas heating, so I might miss like 4 or 5 days worth of gas data, but then after that I should start getting proper gas data from Octopus, so I can actually see what my half-hourly usages are, and that could be quite interesting, because I've got a few things planned to see if I can seal up a few drafts and things in the house, and it'd be interesting to see if that does make much of a difference, so stay tuned for that. Okay, well, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.